Hello, my retro friends. Thanks for finding my channel, Mike the Retro Realtor. Today we're going to talk about dates. These are so important, and I'm actually sending this video out to first-time buyers in particular, but all buyers in general. Now, as a licensed agent who writes the contract, your agent, one of their primary jobs, along with lining up everything and doing everything, is to get the dates straight. Because unfortunately, as a buyer, you are the one who will feel the consequences if your agent screws up. I know this is kind of a nasty pill to swallow, but there are some agents that do not pay attention to these. Now, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to 99% of the agents out there. They will keep an eye on these dates. They will understand that we need to get this inspection contingency done by X amount of days. We will need to get this appraisal done in X amount of days. We need to get this finance contingency taken care of in X amount of days. So I'm going to run through a real quick scenario, a typical run-of-the-mill transaction with financing, because financing generally is the biggest problem. So in this day and age, you'll generally have three contingencies: your inspection, your finance, and your appraisal. So what happens is you do the inspection first. Agents generally get these done within 10 days. Now, at the end of 10 days, a couple things will happen. You can pull out the transaction if there's too much work to be done to the house. There's just something that just says, nope, this is not going to work. You can do an amendment that needs to be signed by both parties within these 10 days to ask for some work to be done, or some monetary compensation for an old roof, a bad furnace, whatever, it doesn't matter. Or if the house is in good enough shape and you're comfortable with the deal, you can just let the contingency run out. So in 10 days, you do nothing, the contingency runs out. So if you're happy with the property, that's just fine. You understand what you're getting into, you did your inspection, no problem. If your agent fails to get the amendment back within 10 days, you cannot take another bite at the apple. You do not get to ask for anything. So keep that in mind. Your appraisal is ordered by your lender. Generally costs about $700. On a typical 30-day transaction, the appraisal is done within about 20 to 25 days. What that means is, as soon as you get past the inspection, you order the appraisal. The appraiser calls up the listing agent. In most cases, that would be me, and I would get the appraiser in there. And the appraiser normally gets it done within 5 to 7 days. As the listing side, all I want to hear is that the house appraised out. No need for work orders if this is supposed to be an FHA or a VA deal. If there are work orders, we scramble to get an amendment put together to get these things done, or sometimes we don't. We just verbally agree to it because all parties want the transaction to close. That's a little bit of a shortcut. It's how people do it, but the most professional and correct way to do it is do an amendment. So we get those items taken care of. And as long as the house appraised out for value, you're past that. The last one is your finance contingency. The buyer's agent needs to deliver from the lender a loan commitment and signed by the buyer, and that gets delivered to the seller, thus releasing the finance contingency. Now, on a typical deal that's a 30 days, that's about 25 days out, or 25 days from accepted offer. So 5 days prior to close. So it gets pretty close. So if the buyer's agent does not do this, the contingency expires. And as a buyer, again, if a deal closes, all these things, don't worry about it. You blew your contingency, but it doesn't matter. It closed. You wanted the house. It's fine. If it doesn't close, now you're kind of at the mercy of the seller. And this is a seller's market. A lot of sellers will give you some extra time, and that's fine. It makes sense. Now, if you miss your contingencies, but everyone's happy and the deal closes on time, it's no problem. You don't get anything for keeping your contingency there. So if it closes, all sins are basically forgiven. I always say that to people. But if it doesn't close and it's been a really rough deal and the seller's looking to get a new buyer anyways, with your buyer's agent not protecting you by extending the contingencies or canceling the transaction, your earnest money, which is traditionally 1% of a transaction, so we're talking thousands of dollars, is at risk. The seller can keep the earnest money if your buyer's agent fails to protect you. So as a buyer yourself, the easiest way to protect yourself is set up a Google Calendar. Say you have the contract in hand. So you basically gave the terms to your agent, and make sure you have what's going on with the inspection, what's going on with the appraisal, what's going on with the finance contingencies. And you should be reaching out to your agent a couple days prior to all these deadlines. Your agent, 99% of the time, will be on top of things. But sometimes they're just sloppy, they just don't care, and you're the one who actually pays for it. So a little bit of free advice, set up a Google Calendar, and keep in mind transactions do change through amendments, but you will be signing any amendment that is to change deadlines. That being said, just keep very close tabs on all these deadlines, because I know it's the agent's responsibility to take care of these things, and they're the licensee, but you're the one paying for it if they do screw up. I'm not saying it's fair, but those are the rules. So keep that in mind when you write a contract. Keep it retro, my friends. Thanks for stopping by.